It is 3 in the morning and you are awake again, doing math in the dark. Here is the strange part. The people who lie there worrying are very often not the people with the least money. I have known men with a paid-off house and a decent pension who wake at 3, and I have known people with far less who sleep straight through. So the feeling is not really about the balance. It is about 7 habits, and the first one takes about 4 minutes to do. Habit 1. They know what their life costs in a month, not their net worth, not what they have saved. One number, the amount it takes to run their ordinary life from the first of the month to the last. Most people have never written that number down. They have a feeling about it, and a feeling is exactly the thing that wakes you at 3 in the morning. A number does not wake you. A number just sits there and lets you look at it. So if you do nothing else after this video, sit down with the last 2 or 3 months of your statements and add up what actually left, not what you meant to spend. What left? Then write the number on a piece of paper. Almost everyone I know who has done this says the same odd thing afterward. The number is usually a little worse than they hoped, and they feel a little better anyway. That is not a trick. That is what happens when a vague fear becomes a fixed size. I knew a man who put off retiring for 2 extra years because he was sure his life cost more than it did. He was carrying a guess in his head, and the guess was about $900 a month too high. When he finally sat down and added it up properly, he found he had been working 2 years for a number he invented. That is what a guess costs, and I want to show you why this matters more than the balance itself. In a large bank rate survey back in 2019, 56% of American adults said they lose sleep over at least one money issue. Then they split the answers by income. Among people earning under $30,000 a year, 63% lost sleep. Among people earning $80,000 or more, 53% lost sleep. Sit with that gap for a second. You can more than double a household's income and move the sleepless number by 10 points. Whatever is keeping people awake, it is only loosely attached to how much is in the account. Habit 2. They look on a schedule, not on a mood. Most of us check our accounts when we feel brave and avoid them when we feel worried, which is exactly backwards, because the worried months are the ones where looking would help. Researchers have a name for this. They call it the ostrich effect, and it shows up in the real data. When people expect bad news, they log in less. When balances are climbing, they log in more. So the avoiding is not a character flaw. It is a very ordinary human reflex, and knowing that should take some of the shame out of it. You know the drawer I mean. The one where envelopes go when you are not ready to open them. Nothing in that drawer has ever improved by sitting there. But the drawer is not stupidity, it is protection, and the way past it is not to try harder. It is to make the looking so routine that it does not require any courage at all. The calm people I know have simply taken the decision away from themselves. Same day every month. First Sunday, a cup of coffee, 20 minutes, open everything. Good news or bad news, the appointment does not change. Nothing gets to grow quietly in the dark because nothing goes more than 30 days unseen. Habit 3. They keep a buffer that is boring, not an investment. Not something clever. A small pile of money whose only job is to make sure nothing in ordinary life becomes an emergency. Bankrate's report this year found that only 47% of Americans say they could cover a $1,000 emergency, and about a quarter have no emergency savings at all. I am not telling you that to frighten you. I am telling you because if you are in that group, you are in the ordinary group, and you can stop treating it as a private failing. What a buffer buys is not returns. It is the difference between a crisis and a nuisance. When the water heater goes and there is a buffer, it is an annoying Saturday. When the water heater goes and there is no buffer, it is a decision about a credit card at 11 o'clock at night. Same water heater, completely different life. Habit 4. They decide once instead of every day. This is the habit people underestimate the most. Calm people are not making better money decisions than you every single day. They are making far fewer of them. The transfer happens on its own the day the money arrives. The bills come out of one account and the living money sits in another. So whatever is in the second account is genuinely spendable, and nobody has to do arithmetic at the till. Willpower is a poor system because it runs out on exactly the days you need it. The tired days. The sad days. The days the kids call with a problem. A rule you set once while you were calm keeps working on the days you are not calm. That is the whole trick, and there is nothing sophisticated about it. Habit 5. They say the numbers out loud to one other person. This is the one that gets people, and I want to be careful with it because there is no blame in it anywhere. Bankrate found that 45% of Americans in a committed relationship say they do not know everything about their partner's finances. Fidelity found that nearly half of couples avoid the conversation on purpose to keep from having an argument. Here is the part I find genuinely encouraging. When they broke it down by generation, people in their 60s and 70s were the most open of anyone measured. 64% said they know everything about each other's money. Your generation is already the best at this. But if you are in the other group, hear me. Money kept silent gets heavier. It does not stay the same size in the dark. It grows. Two people who both worry alone about the same house are carrying twice the weight of two people who worry about it together. A woman I knew went 31 years without ever saying the balance of the savings account out loud to her husband. She was not hiding it. It simply was not a thing they said. When she finally did, at the kitchen table on an ordinary Tuesday, they both got a bit teary, and then they slept better than they had in a decade. Nothing about the money changed that night. Only the loneliness of it did. And it does not have to be a spouse, a brother, a friend, a grown daughter, one person who has seen the actual numbers. Habit 6. They watch who they are measuring themselves against. Researchers keep finding the same uncomfortable thing about money and contentment. Your satisfaction tracks your position relative to the people you compare yourself with far more closely than it tracks the actual amount you have. Which means the feeling of not having enough can be manufactured entirely by the room you happen to be standing in. You have probably felt this. You came home from a week with certain friends feeling behind, and home from a week with different friends feeling perfectly fine, and your money did not change by $1 either week. Calm people notice this and they are quietly deliberate about it. They do not cut anybody off. They just stop volunteering for rooms where an ordinary life feels like a failure, and they spend a little more time where a paid-off modest house is understood to be an achievement because it is one. Habit 7, and this is the one the other 6 rest on. They stop letting the number score them. Somewhere along the way, most of us picked up the idea that the balance is a report card. That a good number means you were disciplined and sensible, and a smaller number means you were careless or naive or just not quite good enough. It is a very convincing idea, and it is not true. Your balance is a fact about your circumstances. It is not a verdict on your character. There is a question I ask people who cannot shake the feeling. If a friend described your exact situation to you, the same age, the same savings, the same house, would you think less of them? Nobody has ever said yes to me, not once. We reserve that verdict for ourselves alone, and we have been doing it so long that we mistake it for honesty. I have met people who did everything right and got flattened by an illness, and people who did very little right and were carried along by timing. If you have spent 30 years believing that number is your grade, no amount of budgeting is going to make 3 in the morning quiet. The arithmetic was never really the problem, so there they are. Know what your life costs, look on a schedule, keep a boring buffer. Decide once. Say it out loud to somebody. Watch the room you are comparing yourself in, and stop letting the number score you. Most people find they already have 3 or 4 of the 7. The ones you are missing are usually the ones doing the waking. And if all 7 feel out of reach tonight, take just the first one. Sit down this week with the statements and find the real monthly number. It is 4 minutes of arithmetic, and it is the closest thing I know to turning a light on. So here's what I would like you to do. Have a think about which of the 7 is missing for you, and put that number in the comments. Just the number. It helps more people than you would guess to see that they are not the only one. Take care of yourself. I will see you next time.